some machines fade. These refuse. Built in an age of raw iron and real purpose, these trucks outlived trends, technology, and time itself. They broke rules, they broke limits, and decades later, they're still remembered. This isn't nostalgia, it's legacy. Number 1. Volvo F88. When Volvo introduced the F88 in 1965, it quietly changed European trucking forever. Until that point, many heavy trucks in Europe still followed old design principles: long bonnets, cramped cabs, limited visibility, and difficult engine access. Maintenance often required hours of dismantling. Driver comfort was secondary. Volvo saw the future differently. The F88 was one of the first truly successful European cab-over-engine long-haul trucks designed from the ground up for modern transport. Its most revolutionary feature was the tilting cab. For the first time, drivers and mechanics could access the engine in minutes rather than hours. This single feature reduced downtime dramatically and became a new industry standard across Europe. Under the cab sat Volvo's new TD100 and later TD120 turbocharged diesel engines. These engines brought reliable turbocharging to mainstream haulage, delivering higher power without sacrificing durability. At a time when naturally aspirated engines dominated, the F88 offered more pulling power on hills and better efficiency on long routes. But the F88's influence went far beyond its engine. Volvo invested heavily in driver ergonomics, a radical concept in the 1960s. The cab offered better seating posture, improved visibility, more interior space, reduced vibration and noise compared to earlier designs. For drivers who spent weeks crossing Europe, this mattered. Fatigue decreased, safety improved. The job became sustainable. The F88 quickly became a favorite for international operators. It was seen hauling across Scandinavia's frozen highway, Alpine passes, German autobahns, Southern European heat. Its reliability under wildly different conditions built Volvo's reputation as a maker of serious long-distance machines. The F88 laid the foundation for every modern Volvo heavy truck that followed. The design philosophy, safety, serviceability, driver-centered engineering became Volvo's identity. Even today, restored F88s appear at European truck shows, often still running their original drivetrains. Veteran drivers speak of them with respect, not nostalgia alone. They remember a truck that changed what a working day felt like. The F88 is not remembered because it looked dramatic. It is remembered because it made long-haul trucking modern. Number 2. Scania 140. If the Volvo F88 symbolized intelligence and refinement, the Scania 140 and later 141 V8 represented raw presence. Introduced in the late 1960s and refined through the 1970s, these trucks brought something Europe had never truly experienced before in mainstream haulage: a factory-built V8 diesel designed for heavy long-distance work. At a time when most European trucks relied on inline six-cylinder engines producing modest power, Scania introduced an 8-cylinder engine that delivered exceptional torque, smooth high-load operation, distinctive exhaust sound, long-distance stamina. The Scania V8 was not just more powerful, it felt different. Drivers described it as effortless. Hills became flatter, heavy loads felt lighter. The engine note became iconic, deep and unmistakable even from a distance. But the 141 series did more than introduce power. It changed driver identity. In Scandinavia and across Northern Europe, the Scania V8 became a symbol. Drivers customized their trucks with roof-mounted lights, chrome accessory, custom paint, personal interiors. The truck became an extension of personality. Long-haul driving turned into a lifestyle. The Scania 141 wasn't just a machine, it was status. Technically, these trucks were robust and well-engineered. Scania's modular design allowed operators to match drivetrains to routes. The V8's durability under constant load built trust among fleet owners who ran heavy combinations across long distances. What made these trucks legendary is not just their performance, but their emotional footprint. No other European truck created such a strong cultural identity around sound, power, and pride. Even today, Scania continues producing V8 engines, and the company openly acknowledges the lineage. Modern Scania V8 models exist because the 140 and 141 created something more than a product. They created tradition. At vintage events, when an old 141 starts up, people do not just look, they listen. Some legends are remembered by what they did. The Scania V8 is remembered by how it made people feel. Number 3. Mercedes-Benz NG series. In 1973, Mercedes-Benz unveiled the Neue Generation, literally new generation, and the name was not marketing hype. The NG series represented a complete break from the past and became the blueprint for every modern European heavy truck that followed. Before the NG, many Mercedes trucks were conservative, upright machines built more for durability than comfort. The NG changed that philosophy. It introduced a wide, flat front cab with improved aerodynamics, vastly better interior space, and a design intended for long-haul life, not just short regional work. Key innovations included a fully tilting cab for rapid engine access, modular engine options across power classes, improved suspension and ride quality, a cab designed for extended living. The NG series spanned a wide range, from distribution trucks to heavy international haulers. This versatility allowed fleets to standardize on a single platform across multiple roles. That mattered enormously in Europe, where operators managed diverse routes across many borders. Under the cab were Mercedes V6 and V8 diesel engines, designed for long service intervals and exceptional longevity. These power plants were not flashy, they were conservative, overbuilt, and famously durable. It was not unusual for NG trucks to run for decades in fleet service, later moving into secondary markets in Eastern Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. The NG also marked Mercedes-Benz's full commitment to driver-centered engineering. The cab layout prioritized visibility, reach, and posture. Sleeper versions allowed true long-distance operation without external accommodations. For thousands of drivers, the NG became their first home on wheels. What makes the NG unforgettable is not a single dramatic feature. It is the role it played in making European logistics modern, standardized, and scalable. From the late 1970s through the 1980s, these trucks became everywhere, on German autobahns, crossing Alpine corridor, running ports and industrial corridors, forming the backbone of pan-European haulage. The NG's design language and engineering philosophy directly evolved into the SK series and later the Actros. Every modern Mercedes heavy truck carries its DNA. It is remembered because it did not merely succeed. It redefined what a European heavy truck should be. Number 4. Kenworth W900. If European legends were shaped by efficiency and borders, the American icon was shaped by distance. The Kenworth W900, introduced in 1961 and continuously refined for decades, became the definitive image of North American trucking. Long hood, external air cleaners, tall exhaust stacks, and a cab built for life on the open road, the W900 is not just a truck, it is a symbol. What made the W900 legendary is not innovation in isolation, but perfect alignment with American long-haul reality. Multi-day, coast-to-coast routes, independent owner-operators, personal customization, cultural visibility. The W900's long nose configuration allowed large displacement engines, Cummins, Caterpillar, and Detroit diesel units known for torque and longevity. These engines were designed to run continuously under load for hundreds of thousands of miles. Inside, the W900 offered something European trucks of the era did not emphasize: space as identity. Sleeper cabs became homes. Drivers installed refrigerators, sound systems, televisions, and personal decor. The truck became a private domain. Structurally, the W900 used a robust ladder frame that allowed heavy loads, aftermarket modification, extended service life, rebuildability. Many W900s were not replaced. They were rebuilt. Frames, cabs, and running gear were refreshed over decades. This created a culture where a single truck could serve a driver's entire career. The W900 became deeply embedded in American media. It appeared in films, television, advertising, popular art, it became shorthand for truck itself. Unlike most classics, the W900 never truly disappeared. Kenworth still produces it today in evolved form. But the early generations, the square dashboards, analog gauges, and mechanical drivetrains represent a golden age when trucking was mechanical, personal, and visible. It refuses to be forgotten because it still exists, still works, and still defines the American road. Number 5. Mack R-Series. For much of the 20th century, Mack trucks stood for one thing: strength. The Mack R-Series, produced from the mid-1960s into the 1980s, embodied that identity. It was not elegant, it was not aerodynamic, it was not subtle, it was built to work relentlessly. The R-Series became dominant in construction, logging, heavy haul, municipal service, short and medium distance freight. It used Mack's own engines and drivetrains, designed in-house for durability. The company's philosophy was simple: control every critical component so nothing becomes a weak link. Mack engines were not the most powerful in raw numbers, but they were famous for torque at low speeds and long service life under severe conditions. The R-Series cabs were heavy steel structures designed to survive abuse. Frames were thick, axles were oversized. Everything felt industrial. This made the R-Series a favorite in environments where failure was not an option. Quarries, timber operation, urban construction, harsh weather regions. Drivers trusted them. Fleet managers depended on them. Municipalities ran them for decades. The R-Series also represented the final era before electronic management transformed trucking. These were fully mechanical machines. Repairs could be performed with tools and knowledge, not diagnostic software. As Mack modernized, the R-Series gradually disappeared, but thousands remained in service long after production ended. Some still work today in secondary roles. The bulldog emblem became more than branding, it became a promise. The R-Series refuses to be forgotten because it represents a time when strength alone could define a machine. It did not charm, it endured. Number 6. Leyland Marathon. By the late 1970s, British truck manufacturing was struggling to remain competitive against increasingly advanced European rivals. Volvo, Scania, and Mercedes were redefining long-haul transport with modern cabs, efficient drivetrains, and international support networks. In response, British Leyland launched the Leyland Marathon in 1978 as a bold attempt to reclaim Britain's place in continental haulage. The Marathon was not merely another domestic truck. It was designed specifically for international work. It features a wide, flat front cab suitable for sleeper configuration, modern ergonomics compared to earlier British designs, engines capable of sustained high-speed motorway operation, compatibility with European trailer standards. The cab itself was based on a Volvo design, reflecting how far the industry had shifted. Underneath, Leyland fitted its own powertrains, including the TL11 engine, aiming to provide British fleets with a homegrown alternative to foreign trucks. On paper, the Marathon was exactly what the UK industry needed, a true long-distance hauler capable of running across Europe. In practice, its timing worked against it. British Leyland faced internal instability, limited development budgets, and an increasingly competitive market. Continental trucks offered stronger dealer networks and a reputation for reliability that the Marathon struggled to match consistently. Yet despite its commercial challenges, the Marathon became unforgettable for what it represented. It was the last serious British attempt to build a world-class international heavy truck. Drivers who ran marathons remember them as honest machines, capable, distinctive, and unmistakably British in character. The squared cab, bold branding, and national ambition gave it identity beyond its sales figures. Today, restored marathons appear at heritage events, not because they dominated the road, but because they symbolize a turning point. They represent a moment when Britain still believed it could shape the future of long-haul trucking. It refuses to be forgotten because it tells a story larger than itself, the end of an era in British heavy engineering. Number 7. Tatra At-15. While Western Europe refined long-haul efficiency, Eastern Europe faced a different reality. vast territories with poor infrastructure, extreme weather, and industrial demands far from paved highways. The Tatra 85, introduced in the early 1980s in Czechoslovakia, was engineered for a world where roads were optional. Tatra's philosophy was unlike any other manufacturer's. Instead of a conventional ladder frame, the 8115 used Tatra's unique central backbone tube chassis with independently suspended swinging half-axles. This design delivered exceptional off-road mobility, high torsional rigidity, reduced drivetrain stress, ability to operate in extreme terrain. The 8115 became indispensable in mining, military logistics, oil and gas exploration, remote construction, desert and Arctic operation. It was not fast, it was not refined, it was built to go where others physically could not. Power came from air-cooled diesel engines, another Tatra signature. These engines eliminated the need for liquid cooling systems, reducing failure points in freezing or scorching environments. For regions with limited infrastructure, this mattered. The 815 earned a reputation for surviving conditions that destroyed conventional trucks. It crossed Siberia, worked in African mines, and hauled in Central Asian deserts. It became a tool of national industry and international export. What makes the Tatra 815 unforgettable is that it exists outside the mainstream evolution of trucking. It did not chase aerodynamics or comfort trends. It pursued capability above all else. Even today, modern Tatras still follow the same engineering philosophy. The 8015 refuses to be forgotten because it proved that a truck does not need roads to be relevant. Number 8. Iveco Turbostar. In the 1980s, European haulage entered a new phase. Motorways expanded, speed limits increased, loads grew heavier. Operators demanded trucks that could move fast, far, and continuously. Iveco answered with the Turbostar. Introduced in 1984, the Turbostar was designed as a premium long-haul machine. It offered high-powered turbocharged engines, aerodynamic cab design for its era, advanced suspension option, spacious sleeper configuration, a strong focus on driver comfort. The Turbostar's engines, particularly in its higher output versions, gave it performance that rivaled or exceeded many competitors. It became known for strong motorway cruising ability and long-distance stamina. For many European drivers, the Turbostar represented modernity. It felt fast. It looked advanced. Its interior was a step toward the living space philosophy that dominates today's long-haul trucks. In countries like Italy, Spain, and parts of Eastern Europe, the Turbostar became iconic. It appeared in fleets that ran international routes across borders, climates, and cultures, while later Iveco models replaced it. The Turbostar remains one of the company's most celebrated designs. Restored examples appear at vintage meets, often wearing original liveries from major logistics firms of the 1980s and 1990s. It refuses to be forgotten because it marked the moment when European trucking became truly high-speed, high-performance, and lifestyle-oriented. Number 9. Hino ZM Super Dolphin. For much of the 20th century, Japanese manufacturers were known internationally for small vehicles and light trucks. Heavy long-haul machines were still dominated by American and European brands. That began to change in the 1970s and 1980s, and one of the trucks that marked this transition was the Hino ZM and later the Super Dolphin series. Hino, part of the Toyota Group, approached heavy trucking with the same philosophy that made Japanese vehicles globally respected: reliability, efficiency, and long service life. The ZM and Super Dolphin models were designed for both domestic Japanese transport and export markets across Asia, the Middle East, and parts of Africa. These trucks were not built to impress with size or drama. They were built to run continuously with minimal downtime, consume less fuel than many competitors, survive in hot, dusty, high-mileage environment, operate with limited service infrastructure. Their engines emphasized durability and thermal efficiency. Cabs were compact but functional, reflecting Japan's space-conscious design culture, while still supporting long-haul work. The trucks became especially popular in regions where fuel cost mattered, roads were inconsistent, Operators needed machines that could run for years with basic maintenance. In Southeast Asia and the Middle East, super dolphins became part of daily life. They hauled building materials, food, fuel, and industrial goods across developing highway networks. In many regions, they introduced a new standard of reliability compared to older imported vehicles. What makes these trucks unforgettable is what they represent. The moment when Japanese heavy trucks proved they could compete globally in the most demanding category of commercial transport. They did not dominate Western highways. They did not star in movies, but they built reputations in places where failure meant economic collapse. The Hino Super Dolphin refuses to be forgotten because it earned trust quietly, and trust is the highest currency in haulage. Number 10. Freightliner FLD. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, North American trucking faced a new reality. Fuel prices fluctuated. Competition intensified. Operators demanded better efficiency without sacrificing the long-haul character that defined American trucking. Freightliner answered with the FLD series. The FLD introduced a more aerodynamic shape while retaining the traditional long nose layout familiar to American drivers. It was a bridge between eras, traditional in stance and presence, modern in airflow management, compatible with new engine generation, designed for long-distance comfort. Unlike earlier purely mechanical trucks, the FLD entered service during the transition toward electronic engine management. It supported newer power plants from Detroit Diesel, Cummins, and Caterpillar that balanced power with emerging emissions and efficiency requirements. The FLD became one of the most widely used North American highway tractors of the 1990s. It was adopted by large freight carriers, regional operator, owner-operator. Its popularity came from versatility. It could be ordered as a fleet spec workhorse or as a fully equipped long-haul home. It fits seamlessly into the evolving logistics industry. What makes the FLD unforgettable is its role as a transitional icon. It marked the shift from purely mechanical trucking. For many drivers, the FLD was their first truck with improved aerodynamics, more refined sleepers, better fuel economy, early electronic systems. It was the last generation before trucking became fully software-driven. The FLD refuses to be forgotten because it represents the moment when tradition met modernity, and neither was lost. These trucks weren't just metal and engines, they were milestones. They hauled history, built industries, and earned respect the hard way. New machines will come and go, but legends don't vanish. They stay.